Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so you must bow down to the queen, the ice queen of all time. She is amazing, she's beautiful, she's literally destroyed the Holiday Cup meta, and now she returns in the Retro Cup meta as one of the most powerful Pokemon in the meta. Literally, like, it's... I think Froslass in this meta is actually stronger than she was in the Holiday Cup meta. So Froslass, I'm not going to go too much over Froslass, I'm just going to go over the typings and her stats, etc. But Froslass, she's a freaking beast, okay? For those of you that don't know, well, now you know. No, Froslass is an Ice and Ghost type. What makes that combination really interesting is it gives you some resistances and, of course, some weaknesses as well that you wouldn't get if both of these were independent. So the reason why Froslass is so good is because it has a high attack and high stamina stat. It's actually pretty balanced across the board. Its moveset of Powder Snow gives it, and Hex gives it the ability to charge incredibly fast. If you don't know, Hex and Powder Snow were buffed in the recent seasons, so Froslass is an amazing charger, and because of that, she does a ton of damage. She has Avalanche and she has Shadow Ball. That's the preferred moveset. Avalanche and Shadow Ball, both of those she does get stabbed, and both moves hit really hard. Froslass with an energy advantage or shield advantage will nuke your opponent or destroy your opponent pretty handily. There's not a lot of things that actually stop her in this meta, and even if you do try to stop her, if she has energy, like I mentioned, or shields, she can avalanche her way to victory, or literally ball out. Either way, she'll be the Retro Cup MVP of the year. She'll shoot 3-pointers at you. She'll take your entire lineup and she'll sweep. That's how powerful Froslass is. So the Ice/Ghost typing, what happens with that is that, well, the one thing that she does have a limitation is her weaknesses. She has a lot of weaknesses. As you see here, she's weak against Dark, Fire, Ghost, Rock, and Steel. Ghost is weak against Ghost. Ice loses against Fire, Rock, and Steel. And Ghost loses against Dark. So you combine those two together, she has a decent amount of weaknesses. Fighting does neutral damage to her. So if you try to hit her, if you try to punch her, because she's an Ice type, she'll do neutral damage. So things like Machamp can still be effective. That's one of the things. But as you see here, like, well, it doesn't do neutral damage. You're actually resisted because fighting double resisted. But because Froslass isn't, like, super bulky, she can be prone to, like, getting punched down. It can happen, basically. She does resist normal. There's not going to be a lot of normal types, like, normal type attacks unless it's Body Slam in the Retro Cup. Even then, most of the time, they will lick you down. Well, most Pokemon that have normal typing will lick you down. Also, Bug, Ice, and Poison types are resisted. Other Ice types, which like other Froslass, was really important, but you probably won't see as much Bug and Poison in the Retro Cup. Yeah. There's not really a polarizing Bug or Poison type that I know about, unless I'm missing something. But anyways, Froslass is really freaking good for the Retro Cup. Alright, here's the PvPoke.com rankings. As you see here, Froslass ranks at number 2. You don't have to look very far because she's that good and she's that powerful. As you see, she's very powerful in all positions. You can literally put Froslass wherever you want, preferably as a closer. As you see, well, as a switch or a closer. As you see here, she does best in the closer or the switch, and she's the #1 charger. She's just insanely powerful, okay? She's gonna kill a lot of things, whether you like it or not. She beats Altaria, Deoxys Defense, Abomasnow, Hypno, and Medicham. What makes her so good is that the Psychic meta, basically, she destroys practically the entire Psychic meta. Dragons don't like her, so don't Ice types, just because she does resist their Powder Snows and their Ice type moves. And Froslass is able to do a ton of damage. As you see here, she does get beat by Alolan Marowak, Wishcash, Lapras, and other water types, etc. However, like I said, with energy advantage and shield, she can rock that meta. The biggest threat is probably Alolan Marowak. However, if you've played Holiday Cup, a Shadow Ball will nuke an Alolan Marowak and take it out. So there's a lot of ways Froslass can just run the Retro Cup. In the lead, she's very good. Like, she rates at number 7. Froslass isn't a bad idea as a lead if you get a positive lead, especially since there are so many Psychic types, etc. running around. So the thing you have to keep in mind is that Froslass is glass. She's not the thickest thing in the world, so as far as bulk goes, you have to be really careful with her. As a switch, she does incredibly well, ranking at number 3. So she's an incredibly powerful safe switch. And she's the most powerful closer. So really, really good. As you see here, she's able to take out a ton of things. Especially if she gets going. She can actually lose to Surfetch with Night Slash, just because what I mentioned before, she's not the greatest, she's not like the thickest thing around, so then she's going to die. She's going to get hit really hard by other Pokemon with high attack, etc. And as a closer, she's the number 1 closer. So Froslass is the number 1 closer. It's basically, if you play the Holiday Cup, she functions the same way in the Holiday Cup. Give her energy, give her shields, Froslass will run over, she'll pretty much run over the entire meta. If she has energy and if she has shields. She's that powerful. As you see here, she absolutely breaks and destroys Altaria and the Psychic type meta. If you land a Shadow Ball, if you land a Shadow Ball on the Psychic or the Ghost types, they die. It's that simple. She'll deal a ton of damage. And as a charger, she is the number 1 charger. She will just blast everything and destroy everything to oblivion. That's how powerful Froslass is. Strategy is simple with Froslass. Give her energy, give her shields, destroy everything. It's that simple. Alright, here's a PvPoke.com matrix. As you see here, please consider donating to PvPoke.com, as I always say. Alright, we got Froslass right here. We got a perfect Froslass. 0, 15, 15 is a rank 1 Froslass. And I did the add and compare feature. If you do the add and compare feature, you get a whole bunch of IVs, as I did here below. And we're going to compare all multiple IV sets for Froslass. I will do this for every video, just so that you can see if high attack Froslass, or high defense Froslass, or high HP Froslass, like if any of those like create specific bulk or breakpoints, etc. And then I have the Retro Cup meta to the right. Got the 2 shield, we hit battle, and then as you see here, so high attack Froslass, so you kind of need bulk. As you see here, a high attack Froslass will lose against an Obama Snow. You lose against Shadow just because Shadow can hit you really, like, Shadow will hit you really, well, I think Shadow is assuming that they bait you. So, against the Shadow Bomba, I think they have to bait you, because they have to land an Energy Ball, yeah. I think you could eat a Weather Ball, so if you shield the Energy Ball, I don't know, so you shield the Energy Ball. Okay, so don't shield this, let's see. Your Avalanche, that's a Shadow Ball. So don't shield this one, shield that, yeah. So if this is a bait-dependent matchup. So against Shadow Bomba, if you shield Energy Ball, you win. So that's why you win convincingly. It's Obama Snow, you could just straight Avalanche. But you have to shield Energy Balls. You beat Altaria, Cresselia, you beat Deoxys defense. As you see here, do not use a high, don't use a high attack Froslass. As you see, there's, like, unless you're in the mirror match, you actually lose matchups. So don't do it. It does really well against the Psychic types, as I mentioned before. You lose against Dugong, and you also lose against Lapras just because of their Ice typings. If you hit them with Shadow Balls, and if you have shields, I'm pretty sure you could flip those matches. The Dragonair Shadow matchup, as you see here, I don't know why it does this. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure you can win this matchup. Let's see, in the 2 shield. Why do you win the 2 shield with a high defense one? Like, I don't understand that concept. Why does this win? So Froslass wins. Is there a bulk / breakpoint that I don't know about with like a 0 defense one? Minimum defense to guarantee. I don't get it. Oh, okay. So if it's 0, so that high is, so that one extra, you see that one level, like the one extra level you get here. As you see here, that one little extra level you get actually allows you to take less damage. So that's why you see here with Dragonair that there's a specific bulk point to where, like, I'll go over that later, but you'll win with there is one matchup that matters. Shadow Dragonair can be, I wouldn't worry too much about Shadow Dragonair though, because since it's such a heavy ice presence, you won't have to worry about it too much. Again, high attack Froslass will win the mirror just because you win CMP. You beat Galvantula, Hypno, Jellicent. You lose against Licky and Lickitung. I'm pretty sure you could beat them. You could beat these. The only reason you lose is just because you lose against those just because you, lick. That's basically it. They'll lick you down. You don't want to use Hex in this meta. The reason I'm not using a Hex Froslass is because Hex doesn't do a lot to you, and you don't want to get walled by the normal types. If you get locked into a normal type and you have Hex, you're dead. Just because they resist Hex, and it's not gonna be a good time for you at all. As you see here, you do get Shadow Champ can just literally run through you as long as it has shield, so be careful. Shadow Champ is incredibly powerful. You do resist counters, but like as you see, it could just straight cross chop you down. That's how powerful Shadow Champ is. So just be really mindful that Shadow Champ can just run over you. You can beat Mantine with good IVs, as you see here. With a high defense one, you can beat Mantine. You obviously lose to Alolan Marowak unless you nuke it. You beat Medicham, Mewtwo. You lose against Regirock and Celio. Celio just because it resists your Powder Stones, and against Regirock just because of Regirock's energy gain. But you do beat Wishcash. You do beat Daddy Cash, which is a plus. As you start getting down in shields, as you see Froslass's value goes up really high. You flip a ton, you convincingly beat a ton of matchups, as you see here. Shadow Dragonair can Dragon Breath you down just because anything that does really high damage can possibly take out Froslass just because Froslass is very glassy. And that's why, well, not super glassy, but it's pretty glassy. Like it's not, it doesn't have a high level of bulk. That's why Shadow Champ, as I mentioned, can just punch you down. Same thing in this scenario. Shadow Champ still threatens you really hard in the 1 shield and 2 shield. You're still going to lose against pretty much the same things you lose against before. Again, you convincingly lose against Galvantula this time around. And basically 1 shield and 2 shield scenarios are very similar. So if you run the Matrix, you will win and lose against pretty much the same things. You beat Psychic types, you beat Dripplin, which is the flying types. You also beat the fighting types, as you see here. In the 1 shield, one of the big differences though is you will beat Celio. And against Wishcash, Wishcash is actually like IV dependent, just because it can just mud bomb you to death. As you see here, you win with 0-15-15 with a high. You win with a high IV one, just because you're able to. It's like 1 HP, actually 3 HP. I lied. So you will barely live. So this assumes that Froslass has no damage on it, and they didn't sneak an extra fast move through. So don't rely too much on that one. In the zeros is where Froslass shines. In the Zero Shield, Froslass nukes pretty much most of everything. As you see here, in the Zero Shields, you destroy a lot of the meta. You can even beat Dugong, and you beat Dugong, but you don't beat Lapras. I think it's because the Lapras is Surf, because it could just surf you to death. Of course, you beat your Froslass in the Mirror. You'll still lose against things like Jellicent and Licky Licky. Jellicent can Shadow Ball you to death with Hex. It gets that advantage, as you see here. And it also has that bulk. So it can actually serve. So if you Shadow Ball it, it actually survives your Shadow Ball just because Jellicent's bulkier. Unless you're up a shield. You could be Lickitung at this point. Lickitung you can straight, because, Power Up won't KO you could Avalanche it to death. So that's where, the zeros is where Froslass' strongest position. You can take out a majority of things. Unfortunately, you still won't take out Regirock, just because Stone Edge threatens you really hard. And plus that lock on energy. So it threatens you really hard. Unless you are on the 1-0s. In the 1-0s, Froslass beats the entire meta. Except Regirock. Yeah, except Regirock. Except Regirock. Oh, whoops. Okay, there we go. Oh. Yeah, except Regirock. So you beat everything except Regirock just because Regirock can straight Stone Edge you. If you have 2 shields, so as you see here, it just outpaces you, that's why. So as you see here, you will get outpaced. It still has a decent amount of health left, so even if you do send in something else, it has to have a decent level of chunk damage before you can KO. So just keep that in mind. For the second one around, if you're in the 2-0s, however, if you are in the 2-0s, so you beat the entire meta in the 1-0s but Regirock. In the 2-0s, you beat Regirock. So, in the 1-0s, X2, I wouldn't worry about Regirock too much just because Regirock is really expensive. Not only that, it's really rare. I personally have one, but not a lot of other people do. So don't worry too much about Regirock running around. In the 2-1s, if you have shield advantage, Froslass is still incredibly powerful. As you see here, Froslass still does a lot of work. You can lose against Licky Licky, but this is only because, as you see here, these are really bad IV Froslasses. The only reason you lose against them is just because, watch, as you see here, you can get Shadow Ball. Well, actually get baited and then you get, yeah. So, as you see here, you bait. I don't know why it's body slamming first, but okay. You as you see, you will barely lose just because of the lick damage. So the lick damage ultimately adds up, and then it'll KO you. So it's just the lick damage. High IV ones, as you see here, high defense and high IV Froslass can beat Licky Licky. It's not too. I wouldn't worry about this too much. Like I mentioned with Licky Licky, Licky Licky, you could probably see around and look at something, but I wouldn't worry. Don't worry about if you run a Matrix, don't worry about one specific matchup. You're going to have 3 Pokemon. You can beat it one of them, hopefully. But as you see here, it still does really well with shield advantage. Froslass is incredibly powerful with shields, and if you have, especially if you have energy, it's still very, and if you have energy, it's really powerful. It's insanely powerful. So, as you see here, Froslass does some work. There are specifics for, like, bulk and breakpoints, like, high attack Froslass, so if we're going to break and bulk points, it's not that much, and you'll see shortly. Alright, so as far as bulk and breakpoints, so there's not really much relevant breakpoints. If you look across the meta, as you see here, even if I'm rocking the 2 shield, there isn't many things that will, like, there's not a lot. Like, a lot of the breakpoints you get are still matchups that you will still dominantly beat, or they won't really matter too much. For example, with Shadow Hypno, if you have a break, like, as you see here, the breakpoint with Shadow Hypno, with these 2 mons, as you see right here, with a higher attack, you'll still convincingly beat the Shadow version, regardless, in multiple scenarios. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter too much. Bulk points is a different story. It's kind of a different story. As you see here, if you have a high attack Froslass, Altaria absolutely, like, nukes you. Do not use a high attack Froslass. There's no reason to. As you see here, there is a specific bulk point against Dragonair. I wouldn't worry about this too much. Like I said, your odds of finding a Shadow Dragonair aren't really too high. You can see it, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. There's a lot worse things you should worry about, like Lapras and Lucky Duck, etc. As you see here, the bulk points of, even if you do have high bulk points for Shadow Champ, it's still gonna run you over. So bulk points aren't super relevant as far as specific matchups go. Froslass is so dominant, like I said, the basic thing you have to do with it, regardless of whichever IV you have, is basically save shield, get energy advantage, and you run over their line. That's basically it. So Froslass still, regardless of whichever one you play, as you see here, the bulk points don't matter too much, especially specific matchups. The only one that's really specific is this one right here. A high defense Flashless where the bulk point is 15 and 2, and then you have one specific bulk point. Don't worry about this though. So, it doesn't matter too much. Regardless, I still give it an 9 out of 10. Like I said, basic strategy with Froslass, it's just as dominant as it is in the Holiday Cup. Give it shields, give it energy, it runs everything over. You blast, you'll dump everything under a bunch of ice like the Titanic, or you will ball out like an NBA basketball game where the Cavaliers get swept by the Warriors. I'm just saying. I am a Warriors fan, by the way, so yes. Anyways, Froslass is really strong. If you do have one, you should have one. It's been out for quite a while. It's had a spotlight hour, so if you don't have one yet, if you're considering building one, it's really good for the Retro Cup. So, and it's pretty available, so you'll probably see a ton of these things flying around everywhere just because it's so good in all positions. Again, if you do have, simple strategy. Save shields, give it energy, and then Froslass is the queen, and she will make you bow. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets. Hopefully you guys enjoy the Retro. Hopefully you guys are prepping for the Retro Cup and this video helps you out. And I will see you guys on the next video. Also, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet.